We're here for the O'Colly. I'm Sam Hutchens, joined with Ben Hutchens, and we are in AT&T Stadium, also known as Jerry World, just wrapping up day 2 of Big 12 Media Day here in 2021. Big day for Oklahoma State. The Cowboys took their turn on the stage and speaking to the media and on the Big 12 network through ESPN Plus. Ben, there's a lot of talent on this field. What were some of your takeaways?
Sam, there was. And frankly, the biggest takeaway, I think, is that it wasn't, just Mike Gundy, Spencer Sanders, and Malcolm Rodriguez. For Oklahoma State, they had really the whole crew. You had Chad Weiberg, who's in his, first 2 weeks as athletic director, and also Casey Shrum, the new Oklahoma State president, who came to just kind of hang out, interview some people, really get acclimated to all that is Big 12 Media Day. So I think it is notable that, Oklahoma State, they brought really the entire crowd. It was kind of a community feel, and Oklahoma State, it just really shows something that this is kind of a new regime here, new team coming in to get things going, and they brought everyone.
Well, it could be a new look for the Cowboys, at least under center from what we saw a little bit. I thought something interesting Coach Gundy told the media was that he thinks Spencer Sanders has progressed more in the last 2 months than he has in the last 2 years. Coach Gundy, cited him being a freshman and then getting hit with COVID and things like that, where his progression time was always kind of cut short. So here now with Coach Tim Rattay coming in, Spencer Sanders was very appreciative of him right here when he took his turn at the podium and talking about his development and growth there. So you're not going to come to Big 12 Media Day and speak ill about your team. So all 10 teams here came to kind of hype themselves up. But I will say the praise and maybe building the pedigree a little bit for Spencer Sanders, building those expectations, there was certainly some of that here this week.
I agree. And Sam, today, it didn't start out with a player. We started out today bright and early, 9 a.m. in Jerry World, with Greg Burks, the commissioner of the Big 12, officials, the guy who's kind of the coordinating all of that. And Greg Burke, he had some really interesting things to say about some rule changes. And the two biggest ones, I think, Sam, are horns up, horns down. He said it'll probably be a penalty if we're playing against each other and I give you the horns down, but I can give the horns down to the fans. I can give the horns down to, my team, as long as it's not, taunting. The key word in there was probably, Sam. Probably, because it's really all up to official discretion. But it is something that they're going to keep an eye on. Now, the other thing has something to do with Oklahoma State, where last year Oklahoma State had the vertical yellow lines that looked a lot like field goal posts behind the goalpost when the team was trying to kick the opponent. That was deemed a little advantageous for Oklahoma State.
It was.
And there was a kind of a memo, a crackdown, if you will, that hey, you can't have, your media people. You can't have your band. You can't have those other people influencing the game and creating an unfair advantage. So there was also that mentioned by Greg Burke, the official.
Some other notes from around the Big 12. The only team that didn't make an appearance here in AT&T Stadium was Kansas University, and that's not because they didn't try. They were supposed to fly down from Lawrence today, and we got word in the early morning that their plane would not get clearance to take off due to some heavy rain in that they were experiencing in Lawrence. So Coach Leopold was able to do what has happened all too often in the last year, which is zoom in and meet with the press that way through an online telephone call. So Coach Leopold and the rest of the schools here at the Big 12, they kind of came and did their messages as well. But that's just another note that the only team that wasn't able to make it here in person was the Jayhawks.
Sam, how many questions do you think you saw answered over the course of these last 2 days?
I'd put it at just ballpark, right off the top of my head, probably 6,000.
Were any of those questions, who will be the wide receiver 1 and running back 1, week 1 for the Cowboys?
A rather large chunk of them.
Okay. Mike Gundy, he didn't offer any clarity on exactly who will be starting for, at running back, or who will be the primary guy at wide receiver, which has been kind of a rarity for the Pokes in the past. You've got Tylan Wallace in the NFL with the Ravens, Chuba Hubbard now with the Panthers. It's going to be interesting to see who kind of takes over those lead back roles. Gundy said 4 or 5 guys are kind of in the mix. He doesn't want to hand the ball off, 20, 25 times a game to one guy like he did last season. And he mentioned on the wide receiver front, Braylon Presley, or Brendan Presley, I should say. Braylon's, obviously still coming down the line, but Brendan Presley as one of the guys who's going to step up. But he mentioned there's no marquee guy yet on that wide receiver staff. So we didn't really get those questions answered. I'm sure some, more practices and stuff will get all those issues hammered out. But those were the two big kind of questions coming in about this Oklahoma State offensive roster that weren't really clarified.
Well, there's no, Oklahoma State, many teams in this situation are all about trying to hammer out some roster issues. We came into today with talking with teams that had quite a few quarterback battles. Baylor has a quarterback battle. Kansas is in a quarterback battle. The University of Texas, Steve Sarkisian coming in for the first year, his team is in a quarterback battle trying to replace Sam Ehlinger. So it'll be interesting to see kind of names were floated out. It didn't really seem, this early into the season with football still quite a chunk away, with today just marking the very start of the season. Decisions haven't really been made yet, but there was certainly a lot of discussion about who we'll see under center for each of the 4 teams aside from Oklahoma State going today, but also, across the conference in this league that has trended, while not, it's had some Heisman candidates of late, it's trended more toward defensively and trying to get more balance in the rosters. So, those are kind of the broad themes I'm thinking of for as far as what we saw this week. Anything that you have to wrap it up in?
I mean, I was going to say, have we done it? Have we crammed 2 days worth of, footage and media and questions into about a 10-minute video? Have we done it? I think we have. Coming at you from the suite level of AT&T Stadium, Ben Hutchens, along with my brother Sam Hutchens. We're for Ocali Sports, and we thank you for following along all week at Big 12 Media Days.